Thiruchitrambalam, Hara Hara Nama Parvati, Bataye, Hara Hara Mahadeva, Sitsabesa, Sivasidambara, தென்னாருடைய சிவனே போற்றி எந்நாட்டவர்க்கும் இறைவா போற்றி திருச்சிற்றம்பலம் எடுக்கும் மாக்கதை இந்த மிழ்ச்செய்யுளாய் நடக்கும் மேன்மை நமக்கருள் செய்திட தடக்கை ஐந்துடை தாழ் செவி நீழ்முடி கடக்களிற்றை கருத்துள் இருத்துவான் உலகலாம் உணர்ந்தோதற்கரியவன் நிலவுலாவிய நிர்மலி வேணியன் அலகில் சோதியன் அம்பலத்து ஆடுவான் மலர் சிலம்படி வாழ்த்தி வணங்குவான் சைவத்தின் மேற்சமயம் வேறிலை அதில் சிவமாம் தெய்வத்தின் மேற் தெய்வம் இல்லனும் நான்மறை செம்பருள் வாய்மை வைத்த சீர் திருத்தேவாரமும் திருவாசகமும் உய்வை தரச் செய்த நால்வர் பொற்றாள் எம்முயிர் துணையே. தில்லைவாழந்தனரை முதலாக சீர்படைத்த துலையதாம் திருத்தொண்ட தொகைடியார் பதம் போற்றி உலையவர் புராண கதை உலகறியை விரித்து உரைத்த செல்வமலி குன்றத்தூர் சேக்கிழாரடி போற்றி. ஆதாரமாகிய மாணிக்க வாசகர் பாதார விந்தம் பணிவோம். பண்டு செய்த தீதான பாவங்கள் எல்லாம் தீர்ந்து ஞானோதயம் வந்து கூடிடுமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Dear devotees, welcome back to the Periyapuranam Discourse series. Today we are here to think through the wonderful history of the great Kalaya nayanar. Let me pay my obeisance to the lotus feet of Thiruchitrambalam Swamigal, also the 57th Pontiff of Kungiliyakalaya nayanar, Sri Gomathinayagam, Swamigal as well. By the grace of the Almighty Lord Shiva, let's go ahead and get started with Empiran Kungiliyakalaya nayanar puranam. In Tirthundattogai, Sri Sundarmurti praises the Nayanar by saying, Kadavuril Kalayantan Adiyar Kumadiye. In the Kalaya nayanar, he lived in Thiruchitrambalam. Thiruchitrambalam is a holy place, very famous holy place, situated in Chola's kingdom. It's about an hour from Mailadurai, and now also it's quite famous for a couple when they reach 60 age or 80, like Sasthyapta Putti and Satabshekam. You can see the devotees going to the Thiruchitrambalam temple to have some special functions, just to worship the Lord, so they can live longer. And another important thing in Thiruchitrambalam is that it is the temple where the Almighty Lord Shiva kicked Yama, Kala Yamadharman, Kala, to protect Markandeya, the great devotee Markandeya, and saved it from Yama's nose. So that it's also one of the 8 courageous acts of Lord Shiva. Attaviratattalam, Thiruchitrambalam has got a lot of Devara hymns as well. And the Lord residing here is called Amrutakateshwara. Amrutakateshwara, meaning when Devas place the Amruta Kalasam, the pot of nectar, which they got from the milky sea, Parkatam, it got transformed into Amrutakateshwara, Shivlingam. That's why the Lord is called Amrutakateshwara in Thiruchitrambalam. Thiruchitrambalam Swamigal wonderfully explains the beautiness of this holy city. Swamigal says, in Thiruchitrambalam, the music of Samaganam, Shiva likes Samaganam very much. Saint Sundarmurti Swamigal says in Kachiyegambam Devaram, Samavedam Pridugapane, he loves Samaganam. There are various verses about Samaganam in Tripura. So that Samaganam is heard wherever the Velvis, the hobas are held, and the activities performed by Vedic priest. You could hear them everywhere in that city. And then Sennel, which they call the Senjali type of rice, which is red in color, grown in all fields around the Kadavur. And everywhere we can see conch, pearls in all ranges, all the neighboring areas of the city. We could see the Homakunda, where the Vedic priest do homas for Devas and Lord Shiva. And all around the city, the water bodies like lake, pond, that block water are full of red lily flowers. When I say lily flower, in the sense I mean the Sengalini flowers. And the Czechoslovakian goes on further to explain the beautiness of the water body. In the ponds, there are a lot of ponds around Tirukadavur, and in the ponds there are buffaloes. The longhorn buffaloes were resting in the ponds, and they were pouring their milk with the majestic elevation, and the milk is getting mixed with the pond water, and the fishes were swimming across the pond, and as they are swimming pretty fast, the milky water sprinkled by them, and that the sprinkles will fall on the lotus flowers. So the fragrance of the lotus flowers will stand and smell of a sweet buffalo milk. See how beautifully he explains. And similarly, the Tirukadavur city has a lot of very tall buildings, sky-high tall buildings. In that buildings, the cloud falls and settle for a while on the roofs of those buildings. And also the smoke that come out of the Vedic Homa also settling over the roof for some time. So they also get mixed with each other. The smoke from the Vedic homas get mixed with a cloud. The fragrance of the smoke will linger in cloud as well. So basically, he says, you could smell the milk, buffalo milk, and the lotus flower, and you could smell the smoke of the Vedic homa in the rain and cloud as well. So that's all about that city. In that city is where our Nayanar lived, named Kalaya nayanar, Kadavuril Kalayan Tanadiyar Kumadiye. He was so devoted to Lord Shiva and would utter Shiva's name all the time. His sole aim was to offer the Lord Kungiliyam. Kungiliyam means it's an incense producing sweet, fragrance, fragrant smelling fumes. We usually do that in Shiv Pujas and temple. You could see when the Lord in the temple and the Brahmosava, you could see one of the devotees will be carrying the Kungiliyam on their hand, and it will be generating lot of fumes. It's a great service, and that was his service to Lord Shiva. So his service continued without any hindrance for a long, long time. He was a staunch and disciplined, very disciplined devotee. He had family, wife, and kids. And as always, Lord Shiva wanted to show the whole world the intensity of love his devotees have for him. So Shiva made Nayanar very poor. So yeah, basically he was very rich. He's got a lot of wealth, cows, calves, lands, field, etc. But gradually, all his wealth started vanishing. Nayanar was forced to sell off his land and all the wealth he had. He sacrificed and compromised on the various comforts that he used to enjoy, but he never ever sacrificed or compromised on his service to the Lord Shiva. He continued to offer Kungiliyam service to the Lord as always. Month went by, and then Nayanar had sold off all his wealth. There was nothing left at home. Finally, he had become so poor, and where even family could not even have food every day. Nayanar had kids. The children were very hungry, and his wife had nothing to sell in the house. Then she decided to sell her Mangalya, the Mangal Sutra. It is forbidden for any woman in Sanatana Dharma to remove the Mangala Sutra while her husband is alive. But she had no choice. She could not tolerate to see her kids starving for food. So she removed her gold Mangalya with tears flowing down all over her face in streams. With heavy heart, she gave her husband the Mangal Sutra and requested him to sell this and get some rice so that we can feed our children. We could manage this hunger, but our kids cannot. Then Nayanar took the Mangalyam, and then he went out. He was heading to a place where he could sell the Mangalyam and get some money. In the meantime, all his thinking was about, he was not thinking about feeding his kid. He was thinking about how do we continue to offer Kungiliyam to the Lord. So he wanted to continue offering Kungiliyam to the Lord, but Nayanar's wife wanted to feed her starving children. So on the road, one person, a vendor, was selling Kungiliyam. Say, anybody wants Kungiliyam? Anybody wants Kungiliyam? Nayanar had just heard that, and then he stopped because he was heading to sell his his wife's Mangalyam and then buy some rice for kids. The moment he heard Kungiliyam, he stopped, and then he was thinking, is there anything else that can be obtained other than receiving the Lord Shiva blessing? Do I have anything better than this? Periyapuranam melile. That's what the Vichitrambalam says in Periyapuranam. Periyapuranam melile. We need to offer my Lord this great Kungiliyam. So the moment he heard Kungiliyam, he forgot about his family, children, wife, including the Mangal Sutra. So he went to that seller and he told him he doesn't have money, but here he has this Mangal goat. Can you exchange this with some Kungiliyam? Yes, we can. Then he gave him some Kungiliyam, and then he took the Kungiliyam. He went to temple. He forgot about the family. So instead of buying food for his children and going back home to feed them, as requested by his wife, he exchanged the gold for a pack of Kungiliyam and went to temple and started offering Kungiliyam to the Lord. His wife and children, Nayanar was enjoying the bliss in Thiruchitrambalam temple. His wife and children were waiting for him to return with food. They waited for several hours. Husband did not return. And then they fell asleep with a hungry, empty stomach. The Lord of Thiruchitrambalam, Sri Amrithagadeshwarar, saw the intensity and determination of Kalaya nayanar to continue his daily offerings to him. Shiva ordered his friend Kuber. Kuber is one of Swami's friends. Swami has two friends, Gomathinayagam and Kuberan. Ordered Kuberan to fill Nayanar house with lots of grains, rice, food items, gold, precious gems, silks, and other clothes. Immediately, Kuberan did it. Shiva appeared in the dream of Nayanar's wife and told her to prepare food for his devotee, her husband. And then Nayanar's wife was extremely happy that the Lord Shiva came and blessed them with all this wealth. The kids don't have to starve anymore. Shiva also appeared in the dream of Empiran Kungiliyakalaya nayanar and ordered him to go home, enjoy the great feast that his wife is preparing for him. Kungiliyakalaya nayanar, very happy, he went back home. The moment he entered the house, he was shocked to see the wealth shining everywhere. He asked his glorious wife, "Wow, how did this all happen?" And then she replied, "By the grace of Lord Amitabheshwara Swami, as you put his service first, he blessed us with all this wealth." Then couple lived happily. Um, Nayanar continued to do his service to the Lord in Kadavur as always. Then Shiva wanted to further spread the fame of Nayanar by playing another holy prank. There's another city called Thirupanandal. It's a bit far away from Tirukadavur. In Thirupanandal, once upon a time, a woman devotee called Thadakai, Shiva devotee, she was worshipping the Lord of Thirupanandal, Thadaiswarar. She she went to the temple in Thirupanandal with a garland that she could offer to the Lord. When she was about to put it around the Shivlinga, her dress became loose all of a sudden, unexpectedly. Then she had to hold on to her clothes with her elbows like this. She was unable to go further and then put the garland around Shivlinga. Then Shiva, sky high grace, right? Yes, sky high grace, mercy for his devotees. He took pity on her and bent his head. The Lord who owns this whole universe, all living and non living objects, bent his head forward. So that, bent his head forward like this, the Shivlinga Bana bent forward like this, so that his devotee could put the garland around him. And she did. She was able to put the garland around Shivlinga, and then she was very happy. She worshipped the Lord, and then she left. Shivlingam that had bent forward never went back to its original position. It remained inclined permanently in Tirupanandal. The ruling king, Chola king, wanted to make the Shivlingam stand straight as it was before. So he ordered his troops, elephant troops, horses, and all his powerful troops, and asked them, and he ordered them to get the Shivlinga back to its original state. They put a rope on Shivlinga, and then all of them were pulling. So they employed elephants, horses, a lot of manpower to pull the Shivlinga, but no go. But yeah, all of them, didn't need any result. They couldn't even move an inch. Kalayanayanar heard about this. Oh, the king was trying to make the Shivlinga straight. He employed elephants, horses, the whole armed forces, and they were all so tired they became very thin because they have been trying this for several months, not one day or 2 days. He also wanted to participate in the holy service. He didn't want to go there to prove anybody that he could do this, but his thought was, okay, it's a great service to Lord Shiva and this world. I also need to participate in the service and share the pain they're going through. So he went to Tirupanandal, and then he put the robe over his neck, and then also Shiva was praying to Lord Shiva. And then immediately he was just very slowly, without even harming the Shivalinga, he was just trying to pull it, and then Shiva immediately became straight as before in Tirupanandal. Lord Shiva loved his devotees more than they love him. தீர்ந்த அன்பாய் அன்பர்க்கு அவரினும் அன்ப ஊற்றி. Saint Monica Swami says in Thiruchitrambalam, the king became extremely happy. He fell at the feet of Empiran Kungiliyakalaya nayanar. He kept his feet on his head and thanked him. Nayanar also worshipped Taraishwarar in Tirupandal and then went back to Tirukadavur. Another important thing in Kalaya Nayanar story is that Nayanar was so blessed enough to give a feast for the great saints of Shaiva Samayam, Emperor Thiruchitrambalam Swamigal, Emperor Thiruchitrambalam Swamigal. So he did Mahisara Puja for Thiruchitrambalam Swamigal, Thiruchitrambalam, and all the devotees that came with Thiruchitrambalam Swamigal, Thiruchitrambalam, and they, both Paramacharyas, came his home and enjoyed the feast. Nayanar was so blessed to do that. Nayanar continued his service in Tirukadavur for a long time. And on one fine day, he attained the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. So the key message from the story is just like how we learned in the language of Nayanar, whatever happens, whether they are rich or poor, it doesn't matter. They will continue. The people are no impact to the intensity and determination of love they have for Lord Shiva, and also to their daily offerings. They put Shiva first. The world comes next. Family world comes next. Having said that, let's close the session for today. We will continue discussing Bhagwan Manakanjara Nayanar and Arivattai Nayanar in the next class. Thiruchitrambalam. என்றும் இன்பம் பெருகுமேல்பினால் ஒன்று காதலித்துள்ளம் ஓங்கிட பன்றுளார் அடியார் அவர் வான்புகழ் நின்றது எங்கும் நிலவி உலகலாம். திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். ஹர ஹர நம பார்வதி பதையே ஹர ஹர மகாதேவா சிற்சபேசா சிவசிதம்பரம். திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.